Me, Kova, and my husband Jim, we all got to make them. What do you think, honey?
Hey everybody, welcome to Dad Challenge Podcast, #Real Crime, where I dive into some certain cases because they're interesting. And this one is absolutely insanity. Dang, this case is crazy. And I spent literally all day listening to the podcast, especially with Annie from 10 to Life, her deep dives, and then talking about the Patrick thing. It has taken over my entire algorithm on TikTok and Instagram. So every single reel is about it. And there are literally thousands of people talking about this. There's a lot of nut jars, though, out there. A lot of nut jars. Okay. I've got a poll in my chat right now for everybody that's here who said, and the question is simple. Is she guilty of it? Did she do this? And I'm actually flabbergasted that it is 50-50, that some of you think that the husband killed this wife or that killed the kids. And so I want to give you my first initial impression because I'm pretty new to this. Like I'm saying last 48 hours, 3 days max, 72 hours, I've been immersed in it. Okay. A lot of you have been watching this trial since it started 3 weeks ago, and you've watched every word and every frame. And I'm going to have Dr. Leslie Dobson on at 8:30 my time, because I want to get her take on this, because she's a professional in this industry. And then I'm going to see if Annie can come on eventually sometime tonight, maybe too. So again, people like this, he absolutely killed them. And this is going to be a safe space for everybody to have their opinion. Okay. When I cover true crime stories, it's really just about me learning with you. A lot of it, sometimes, remember we did the Gabby Petito case? We were all learning about that in real time. It's just a real, I call it a crowdsourced conversation about true crime. Okay. And so you're allowed to have all these opinions. I'm not going to be upset with you. Maybe you guys know more than me, but the wormhole of this case is unlike anything that I have ever seen in my life. Okay. And so leave your little yes or no in the comments for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to stop the poll and we'll see where we're landing. But as it stands now, 51% of the 1,000 or so people in this chat are saying, yes, she's guilty. 49% of you, 48 now, are saying, no, Patrick did it. And so we're going to have that conversation tonight. We're going to talk about it. We're going to debunk some of the craziest misinformation, because I never have I seen misinformation spread so fast and far, unless it was politics, in a blink of an eye. In a blink of an eye, the misinformation is going insanity for this case. Okay. TikTok is specifically banana sauce when it comes to this. Okay. We're going to get to all the conversation about it. But like, for those, is there anybody in here who really doesn't know anything about this case? Or are you here just for this case? Who said that? Someone said that. Please change my mind. This is going to be with me, because so here's my initial impression of this case. I do believe that Lindsay Clancy is guilty of killing her children. I do believe that is postpartum psychosis that caused it. Okay, that I don't think that she was like sentient. Especially after listening to Annie's deep dive about this, I don't believe that she had the capacity, unless she was under some kind of enormous stress like PPP, or something else, to do this. Because from what all of the friends and all the family and all the people around her say, she loved her children. She was a devout mother. She was devoted. She was doting. She loved her children so much. So the only thing, like, and when I approach true crime stories, I approach it with the Occam's razor, whatever you call it, the theory of Occam's razor. The most logical explanation is usually the right answer. Okay. And it's because I like to use common sense. But some people are putting out some theories, and I understand why this is happening on TikTok, because it brings people millions of views. Okay, to have the shittiest, weirdest takes brings you most views. Some people that want to have honest conversations about it, and they put out some pretty compelling theories, and I get it. But those out there being salacious in this, they're just trying to get your view, and you're falling for it. I just need you to know that, because they don't even believe the shit that's coming out of their mouth. Yeah, the most logical explanation is almost always the right answer. Now, it's not always. Sometimes there's some freak things that go on, and you're like, what? And so again, let me reiterate. I believe she did it. I also believe that there needs to be grace and understanding for postpartum psychosis. I have a wife that I've talked to about this. I've talked to many of my researchers. I've talked to Annie, who went through some postpartum stuff herself. We're going to talk about that tonight. And I do also understand that I am a man who will never experience postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis. And so I'm going to have to defer to women in this one, and believe you, because men, this is just my take. Men have a really hard time understanding this because we will never experience it. When you can never physically or mentally experience something, it's hard for you to understand it. And so that's what kind of molded my take on this, is that I just have to believe women in this scenario, because I will never know. Okay. I did ask my wife, did you have post, like, I just never noticed it, because my wife didn't have it. So And I know it's very common, not psychosis, but like I know it's very common to have postpartum depression and postpartum effects. And I asked my wife, I'm like, did you have any? And I also believe that there's something to be said here for women who have had postpartum depression, and it is also split, that have had something like that. And they're like, well, I never killed my kids. And so that's not an excuse, right? And I get that. And then there's another side of people who did experience it, who are like, I know what that's like, and she cannot be held accountable for it. This is another big part of this case, is that she was failed miserably by her care team. So this is one of the most important cases as far as that now that I'm listening, as far as it goes with postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. If one good thing comes from this, the silver lining of this case is that this is exposing what postpartum psychosis is to a lot of people who don't understand what it is. Okay, again, men we just don't understand it. And we can't, we don't understand why we can't just be like, well, just take a vitamin or something and let's get going. This can be so deep and dark and dangerous, again, to the point where you could kill your children. And so that's the conversation. So where I landed when I first heard about this case, when I listened to Annie's deep dives, I landed right on the fact that this was caused by some kind of psychotic break. There's nothing else that makes sense here. Patrick did not kill these kids. Did she do it premeditatedly? And this is the question I'm asking myself, and I'm going to ask you guys. A lot of people are like, well, it's not premeditated, but can psychosis and premeditation coexist? That's my question right off the top. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Can psychosis and premeditation coexist? Because as far as I'm aware, premeditation doesn't mean that you planned it for a month, a year, a week. It could be minutes, and it's premeditation, where something arises, an opportunity comes from it, and you make that plan to do it. And so when she sent her husband off to CVS and to get some food, in my opinion, that's premeditation. But is that the psychosis that is taken over her brain doing the premeditation? I had PPD and it never harmed my children, but with the amount of different medications she was on, along with being postpartum, she was quitting breastfeeding, and she was failed if she did this. She was a failure if she did this. Now, this is another question. When you quit breastfeeding, will that expand your PPD? Do you think the guy who cut that other guy's head off on the bus should be allowed back out? And this is my Canadian friend, Freedom Pines. And I just had a conversation with my researchers about this, and she was unaware about this case. This is very similar to the case. Similar as in this man, there's a man out, it was in Alberta, Freedom. It was a man who was on a bus, and there was a standoff on this bus, and this man literally cut someone's head off, and then he ate part of him. And that man, currently right now, is walking the streets of Canada. Okay, he's out because they just got him on a good regime of medicine. I kid you not. This man chopped a head off of somebody and ate part of him and is now walking the streets of Canada. No. To answer your question, Freedom Pines, I believe that he should have been instituted for the rest of his life. And to answer the question that obviously you're saying here is, I also believe that Lindsay should be institutionalized for the rest of her life. So here's what I also believe about this case, because I just want to give you guys right off the top what my heart says about this. Unfortunately, you lost the genetic battle towards whatever it is that's happening in your brain, and that sucks, because this cannot be helped. I don't know if it's genetics. I don't know what it is, but it's something within your hormones that cannot be helped. And so if you do get this, it wasn't me, it was psychosis, okay. But at the same time, the thing happened, and it's just the shittiest luck of the draw that you got. You should be institutionalized for the rest of your life. You killed 3 children. You should no longer be amongst civilized society. Now, is there anybody in the chat that thinks that I'm wrong about that? So, yeah, stopping breastfeeding can cause massive hormone changes and affect the emotions. Okay. Here's a good, and again, we're going to do a lot of the reverse the roles thing tonight. Yeah, no, we don't show leniency to men who have psychosis. And when we do, we call it insanity. Again, there's something to be said for, there's very rarely a man that's going to stand up for Lindsay Clancy the way women have been doing it. And I think the simplest explanation for that is that women know, especially women who had children, know what she's gone through or have that feeling. There's some kind of camaraderie that you have. It's very rare you're going to see a man go to bat for Lindsay Clancy and say, no, this is like, it's all women. And it's starting a conversation online. You know, I'm going to say it out loud because this is what I'm reading in the comments, is that women facing accountability is really, really difficult. And they almost want her to be innocent of this because there's no accountability here. That's just what I'm reading in the comments. I don't think that that's the case here, but I think that it's women supporting women. That's what I think is going on here. We'll get to these things, okay? We'll get to the thyroid thing. We'll get to the body temperature thing. We'll get to it all, okay? Because again, I'm going to hopefully Annie will come on and answer some of those questions. And I think Dr. Leslie Dobson is going to answer some types of questions like that. But I want to do an entire segment in this live where all we talk about is the Patrick side of things. Okay. But I want you guys to answer the question below. Maybe I'll do a poll here. I'm going to end this poll. And we're ending the poll at, hold on, end poll. Okay. So yes, 53 guilty. No, 47, she's not guilty, 47%. Now I'm going to make another poll. Here we go. Should she be institutionalized forever? Let's see what you think there. I think that's going to be how the jury is, and it's going to be a hung jury. This is an intense case, Alyssa. You're absolutely right. I think this is going to be, again, the jury's not going to be full of internet sleuthers who take notes and know every little detail about this thing. Also, there's the whole side of like, they think this lawyer is, her lawyer is being this guy who's going to turn the tables at the end and be like, point the finger. It was Patrick this whole time. That's not what's going to happen in this case, everybody. Because here, I'm going to throw this out to you as well. Okay. Well, some people think she deserves prison. I get that. And I want to honor all that stuff. But if you listen to the prosecutor when she's bringing the charges, it's very compelling. It's in Annie's deep dive. She brings up the whole case. It's very compelling. She didn't have a lot of drugs in her system to begin with. The cuts were very superficial. They weren't deep. And so there was, she made him leave and she planned it for when he left. There was a bunch of stuff. Like there's a lot of unanswered questions, but there's also a lot of like, the temperature thing. We're going to talk about did he change his shoes? Did he run back into the forest to the house? We're going to look at all those. But I do want to say this as well about Patrick. Okay. I do believe if it's true that he moved on something like 4 months after this with a new woman, I think that's crazy in my opinion to move on that fast. I think that like, if anything, it's just going to get people to start speculating on why, because it was, to move on so fast, especially with someone who looks almost identical to your ex-wife, is diabolical. Okay. So if he didn't want people to think things, he did this wrong. He moved on way too fast. He married too fast. I think he has a kid now. Like it was way too fast. So again, where's this one? Sorry, I saw this. So these types of things I want you guys to bring up, right? He was running a race with her a week before. Now, if you're going to present this evidence, I really want you guys to, like, if you're going to present something that's like fact it. Bring me a link that says he was running a race with her, or the psychiatrist is best friends with his new wife. You guys have to have hard facts and evidence of these things. Otherwise, I'm going to think you're wearing a tinfoil hat because there's too much of that going on out there. Okay. Way too much of this stuff. There's too many people making up weird shit. It does not make any sense. And I've only been down this rabbit hole for 72 hours. And already I'm thinking some of these people are actually bananas when they say stuff like that. Josh, would you leave your wife and go to New York if she was that ill? No, I would not. I absolutely would not. No. And that's another thing. If people are like, I'm not saying that Patrick wasn't negligent. I'm not saying he wasn't selfish. I think he is, especially if there's this affair thing that has been floating around. He went to New York a lot. He worked from New York. He worked from home from New York. But like he did go to New York a lot. If he was hanging out with this girl before his wife did that, that's some sketchy shit. But do we have evidence of that? That's what I want to know. Is there evidence that he was out there having an affair with this new girl? I can slow down the chat if you guys want. Here's it. Whatever Patrick did doesn't matter. She murdered her kids, psychosis or not, she strangled them. So I know a lot of people want, and this is another thing, this way this case is taking a turn. Everybody wants to blame Patrick for everything, for not being there, for going to the store. But at the heart of this whole thing, like, those people who are saying that, do you also say, well, maybe she shouldn't have strangled her kids? Did you say that as well? Or is it always about who else can be blamed in this case? And that's why it's this conversation is so hard, because there's so many people who are just like, why didn't he do this? Why did he do this? Why did this? Why didn't she not kill her kids? That's a lot of people will say that too, right? His brother is not a sheriff. And so this is it. I'm not mad at you for saying this, because you just probably heard this somewhere. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even think he has brothers. And this is how fast misinformation can spread. Hey, we're allowed to disagree. We're allowed to disagree. You can completely disagree with me. I'm learning this as you guys go. And so, but if you're disagreeing without evidence, like if you're just saying the things that you're hearing on TikTok, you're doing it wrong. Okay? Because if you are wrong about Patrick, right, and it destroys his life, people are literally destroying this guy's life right now. If all TikTok is wrong about Patrick, none of you are going to apologize, right? So Patrick Clancy has one brother who lives in Beaufort, South Carolina, has kept a low public profile, on two sisters, Erin Donahue and Laura Sullivan. His parents are Christopher. So is his brother a cop? So you disagree with my take on the case that she's guilty, but explain why. You don't think that she's guilty? Can I ask you guys this question? Will anything change your mind? What will change your mind if you believe that Patrick is guilty? What would change your mind otherwise? Because in my opinion, she said she did it. She confessed to this crime. Her own lawyer is talking as if she did it and says she did it. Okay? Everybody in this court right now knows that she did it. What she's doing is pleading not guilty on insanity. Not guilty to not doing it, but she's like, yeah, I did it, but I'm not guilty because I can't be held criminally responsible because I wasn't in my right mind. This one here. No one go to Costa Rica 18 days after the funeral with another woman. I think the doctors are guilty. Did he really go to the Costa Rica 18 days after her funeral? Again, that's icky, but does it make him a murderer? I agree. There's a lot of receipts in this case that do not make Patrick look good. I get it. But murder? Again, she admitted to the murder. She is civilly suing doctors and pharma companies based on the fact that she murdered her kids. She has said, I did this. So can you come up, again, what is it going to take for you to believe this? Because if a confession doesn't work, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're just saying, what will convince you that Patrick did not do this? DNA. She was told over and over she did it. I don't know what that means. DNA, like. Here's one. I've heard so many medical professionals say there's no way with all her injuries, and could speak to the confession he said was the only confession. Now, I've heard this before too. They say, well, how could he have talked to her when she was on the ground? If like, can someone confirm from the moment, was she on the ground for 30 minutes before she spoke to Patrick? Is that how this works? The people who believe he did it cannot be convinced. Everyone is lying in their heads. She did not. She pled not guilty on insanity. So it's a difference, because it's maybe I'm wrong about this, but this is what I think in the courts. She's pleading not guilty because she's like, I did it, but I'm not guilty of it because of insanity. I think that's, again, a lot of misinformation gets spread instantly. Like, oh, she pled not guilty, so no, that's not what that means. I think I could be wrong about that. I'm completely on the fence about whether the murders were premeditated or beyond her physical control due to psychosis. Her medical team failed her in some ways. I just don't know how people are what to say. Now, didn't the toxicology report also come back that she wasn't like full of a cocktail of meds at all? Like there was some question there about how many she was on, and it wasn't really about the meds, and maybe it was like psychosis, because her lawyer initially said psychosis, then now it's meds, but now they're kind of bouncing back and forth. You don't need meds to be psychotic. He's guilty. She was under hallucinations when it happened, and she had crushed up pills in her drink, and her fingerprints were not on the knife, only on one of the bands. Yes, the bands thing, her DNA was all over everything, though. Has anybody ever thought that maybe she only wanted to speak to Patrick and not the EMTs? But apparently when they got there, she can only groan in pain. That's what they were saying. See, and these comments aren't helpful. Bro doesn't know what he's talking about. So why don't you tell me, Sarah Barber, nice last name. Why don't you tell me then what I should know? Because this whole online conversation argument thing is so silly when you're like, educate yourself. Allow yourself to educate me then. What don't I know I'm talking about? She pleaded not guilty to reason of sanity. But in the court and in the paperwork, everybody is under the impression she did it. She killed the children, but is she criminally responsible? Am I wrong about that? Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy. I feel like that's it, right? You want to talk about the body temperature thing? Okay. No usable fingerprints were recovered from the bloody knife or the exercise bands, according to trial testimony on Patrick or Lindsay. In the Lindsay Clancy case, a blood-covered kitchen knife was found in the nightstand in the master bedroom. Prosecutors say she used it to cut her wrist and neck before jumping from the second-story window. Massachusetts State Police Trooper testified the investigators found an area of friction, ridge, impressional partial fingerprint detail on the knife, but it lacked characteristics or minutiae for any comparison or identification. It was deemed of no value. The 3 exercise bands using the children's death also yielded no usable prints. Now, and then when people see that there's no usable prints, they run over to, well, his DNA was on it. If I'm not mistaken, all of their DNA on everybody was on these bands because, shocker, everybody uses exercise bands that lives in the house. They all lived there. They all touch things. Their DNA would be all over it. His DNA was on all bands. Body temp cannot drop 16 degrees in 10 minutes. Callan was revived. Therefore, he was not without oxygen for longer than 6 to 8 minutes. So these are some of this one here with the oxygen for longer than 6 to 8 minutes. That's one that's compelling to me. That is compelling to me. She found out he was cheating and she wanted him back to be the person so she killed his kids. I don't think that's a good way to do that. Yeah, so if we want to talk about the temperature thing, and a lot of people use this as the biggest aha gotcha moment in this whole case. Like, how is her body 82? Like, it's not medically possible when it is absolutely medically possible for this to happen. Again, I said this on my Instagram. There are so many people, 50% of you in this chat right now are saying Lindsay Clancy is innocent until proven guilty. And those same people will say that Patrick is guilty until proven innocent. Do you understand the difference here? You've got someone who has claimed to have done it, who has said, yes, I have done it. In many documents has signed a civil case saying she did it. The court says she did it. The lawyer says she did it. Everybody knows she did it. Okay? But then you got these people over here be like, she didn't. I don't understand your brain. So Lindsay Clancy's core body temperature was measured at 82.1 Fahrenheit when she arrived at the hospital. This is severe hypothermia. This figure comes from medical testimony in her trial after she cut herself and jumped from a second-story window on the night of January 24th, 2023. She was found lying injured and motionless on the frozen ground in the backyard. She was then transported by ambulance to South Shore Hospital, where the low temperature was recorded. Why this is physiological possible, even if the outdoor time seemed relatively short. Medical experts, including emergency physicians who treated her and an independent commentary from physicians familiar with trauma, explain it this way. Rapid heat loss outdoors. A motionless trauma patient on frozen ground in winter conditions can lose 3 to 5 degrees of core body temperature per hour. Blood loss, shock, and immobility further reduces the body's ability to generate heat. So she's losing and not being able to regenerate the heat. Spinal injuries worsened it. She sustained complex, unstable fractures in the thoracic spine, found around the T5, T6 level. This can interrupt the brain's control of blood vessels and muscles below the injury, impairing the body's normal defense against cold. Okay? Trauma doctors call the resulting condition poikilothemia. The body tends to take on the temperature of its surroundings. Cooling was continued after she was found. Other contributing factors: exposure, possible metabolic issues from trauma. What we're basically saying is that it's possible for it to happen. But so many people are like, no, can't be. It is. And doctors have said it's possible. So if this was a court of law, I've just destroyed your argument. Okay, it's not a smoking gun. I've destroyed your argument. And so that's what we're kind of going to do back and forth here. You can destroy my arguments as far as you want, but the evidence has to be one way or the other. If you give me a scenario and you say, okay, well, why did, if the kid was in and out and he was given him resuscitation after 8 minutes, I need an answer to that, because there's no answer to that. You are right. The defense, she is guilty of killing children, but not criminally responsible due to the psychosis. But she does not go home either. She goes to jail or an institution, right? But if she goes to an institution, this is why some people don't want her to be institutionalized. Those who think that she's guilty of premeditated murder, is because if you go to an institution, if I'm not mistaken, every year on the year, you can be, if everything seems to be fine with your mental diagnosis, you can be released. Like the dude who ate the guy's head in Canada. Okay. He's literally out on the streets right now. Should he be? No, he shouldn't be. But that's why people don't want people to go to these institutions, because they can be released. I believe she was told she did it. I think she assumed she did it because of that. Now I've heard she's questioning it now. All the evidence is coming out. Now, where did you hear that from? Don't just say you heard it. From where? Did you hear it from TikTok? Or did you hear it from her? This is setting a precedent that mental illness needs to be treated with jails, not proper treatment. Okay, I'm going to get Dr. Leslie on here. Give me a second. Dr. Leslie has been following this case like insanely for like the whole thing. So I believe everything's like, she's got stuff to offer here that I will never know about. We'll get Dr. Leslie's take her off the top. She has been an advocate in this space because of the PPP and all that kind of stuff. She's very smart. She literally does this for a living. She has a lot to say on this, and she's very good. This is a great question. Why does a nurse have to Google where the cardiac artery? And there are some compelling questions in this that I definitely need to know. Dr. Leslie is her own woman. She is not biased towards, she's biased towards her own opinion. She doesn't give two shits what anybody says about anything. I promise you that. But I think most people in this space that I've asked, that I've talked to, we're all kind of in agreement that turn your phone, Dr. Leslie. There you go. Anyway, so here we go. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so right off the top, I started a poll. I have 1,400 people in the chat, and I said, do you think she's guilty? 50%. It's literally 50-50. Right?
Well, but she is guilty. That's not the question.
But I just wanted to say, I wanted to see where people were coming in on this because of all these, and that's what I said. The question is she not guilty based on insanity?
Do they even understand?
Explain it, because I think we need your expertise, Dr. Leslie. Explain it, please.
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Not guilty by reason of insanity is an actual legal defense talking about the person's state of mind at the time of the crime. So in what way possible do we have, beyond a reasonable doubt, a belief that she was sane? That's what they have to prove. 100% she was sane. So with everything we've seen, how can you say that 100% truth?
And so this is what I'm presenting to people, because she has admit, like, her own lawyer. Everybody's under the presumption that she did it, including her, right? Like they're in court saying yes, she did it physically, but was her mind there? That's all this is. So where did this whole side of the internet come out with? It was Patrick. We're not even going to believe her.
Patrick's an easy guy to project onto, I would say. He, in my opinion, in my psychological opinion, looked extremely disturbed when he was testifying. And a lot of people think he didn't seem to care at all. And he looked almost evasive. To me, he looked like a man who was being re traumatized after his 3 children were killed, and he was having to relive it with a great amount of anticipation leading up to this trial. And so we want to pick at him. Yeah, maybe he was a distant father. Maybe he was just completely unaware of what could happen. People are very unaware of postpartum psychosis, and it's not even psychosis. It's not schizophrenia. It's in a different category. And it is such a small area of the medical profession because people don't know about it. Medical doctors don't teach about it. So I give enough grace to Patrick and to Lindsay's mother and her friends that testified. We're not villainizing her friends for knowing she had dark thoughts and not doing anything about it. We're only villainizing Patrick. But what you're going to see is the defense's argument. They haven't even started yet. Kevin Reddington hasn't started yet. He is going to bring in how much Patrick was involved. And then if you actually take the fucking time to read the 2 civil lawsuits, Patrick is suing because of the kids. Lindsay is suing because of her care. If you read them, I think one's 12 pages and one's like 27 pages. They explain what happened. Lindsay explains killing her children and saying, go with God, and believing genuinely that if she killed them and then killed herself, then they could be back together again. And if she didn't do that, she would lose her children forever. They explain it. Wait, oh, I can't hear you. Hold on.
No, I'm muted. I'm stupid. I just want to mute so that none of my background noises come in when you're talking. Okay, so this is what I want you in here, partially because of this, but partially because I want you to explain to people on this platform too about the psychosis. What the hell is this, and why is this so scary to people?
Okay, so when somebody has schizophrenia, when somebody has a psychotic disorder, you can be bipolar and get psychotic. You can be depressed and get psychotic. It's slower than postpartum psychosis. Postpartum is a rapid onset brain craziness of delusions and hallucinations related to the massive drop in hormones in the body. And that's why you hear everyone saying it's a psychiatric emergency, it's a medical emergency. It is an emergency because it is much more like delirium than it is psychosis. So we have all these similar words, but it's actually extremely different and extremely different to treat. So early on, so the later medications that Lindsay had, like Seroquel, okay, cool. That would have worked earlier on, but it was way too late when they finally got to the right stuff. And I don't think they ever really got to the right stuff, as most psychiatrists have spoken to.
Do you think that the lawyer her defense is going to come and say medicine had a lot to do with this?
Well, they're being civilly sued for the medicine. So you have to understand that everyone who's taken the stand so far is trying to cover their own ass.
Yes.
So when they say they didn't see psychosis, it's because they're being sued civilly. As soon as this criminal case stops, they're going to lose their licenses. The hospital's going to lose all their money. They're going to have to change all their policies. It's going to be a giant thing for all of these, like, in the baby doctor toughs to go through, right? So
interesting.
Psychosis is positive and negative, right? It's expressionistic. You hear voices, you talk to them, you have delusions, you act out on them. Psychosis is also negative in the sense that it takes all that away. You're catatonic, you're quiet, you're ruminating in your thoughts, you're hearing the voices. I believe Lindsay became catatonic at the end. She was very quiet, texting a lot on her phone, and she was listening to voices that were commanding her to do these things. And her affect and the way she presented is consistent with the statements given under oath by several witnesses.
Okay. And that's the crazy part. And like, as I'm reading the comments again, so she was not diagnosed with PPP. But I know you're a doctor, but let me just see if my take is anything that would work here. I have ADHD and I lived with ADHD my whole life, but I was never diagnosed till I was in my mid 30s. Didn't mean I didn't have it.
Yeah.
I had it. But just because you're undiagnosed doesn't mean that you didn't have it, right? And so
Of course.
Can you answer one question for me? Because this is the one thing I heard when I was listening to Annie's deep dive today, was that when she had called Patrick the second time from using the doctor's phone, is the first time she mentioned psychosis. He had never heard that before. Is there a possibility that that's being planted in her brain so that for the defense?
No. And I say no because she was Googling what is schizophrenia. She was trying to understand what was happening in her brain well before this happened.
Now, there's some people who think that she was Googling that because, again, I'm going to bring in the tinfoil hat conspiracies because they need to be talked about because they are dominating this whole case. Now, they'll say maybe Patrick's sociopathic and she was trying to see how you deal with that because he's a sociopath. Now, you deal with sociopaths in your industry. You have dealt with them for years and years and years. Do you see that in this man?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, we have back and forth texting from them. We have their friends and family who have spoken out about knowing them for so long, for many, many years. That's not a psychopath. None of this goes to premeditation. And for individuals who say that she wasn't diagnosed with postpartum psychosis, she certainly was. Dr. Margaret Spinelli did a very comprehensive examination on her right after this happened and diagnosed her. And so did Dr. Philip Resnick, and so did Dr. Ziesel. And so the doctors who actually tested her and understand the nuances of this with objective psychological testing and a ton of collateral information. They're interviewing Patrick, they're interviewing the parents, they're interviewing the police that were there. Everyone's involved. We just haven't heard that part. They diagnosed her with postpartum psychosis and other things.
And the same people who are saying she wasn't diagnosed are using it as defense are also diagnosing Patrick with sociopath. They're also saying, well, he's a sociopath. Yes. So, that's why I think this is like, unlike anything I've ever seen before in any case I've ever seen, the tables turn so quickly because of all these gotcha moments. But I think a lot of people are using this as a moment to be contrarian in a lot of ways, just because. Yeah. Can you explain the psychology? And I again, because I'm glad you're here, because if I said it, I would be a sexist or whatever. But there's something to be said for it's mainly women only who are like, there's no way she did this. We can't have this. What is the psychology behind why this is happening right now?
I think this is a really, really extreme case, of course, and it's really, really hard for people to sit back and use discernment and look at all of the pieces of this. And we immediately want to resolve any kind of angst in our mind, right? So we're going to give ourselves a resolution. But again, it catches like wildfire in today's social media. And the platforms are all very different. The way that TikTok takes things is very different than the Instagram conspiracies and the Facebook conspiracies. So it is speaking to population, culture, age categories, rational thinking, education, how fast algorithms work and what they feed you, right? So there's so much that goes into, oh yeah, I could easily see, I mean, I saw the picture today of Patrick's wife with the exercise band around her waist during a marathon. But that band was actually used. Like she uses that band. She wore it way before knowing him. I saw that too. It wasn't like a sign. It wasn't like a fuck you to Lindsay, right? There's so many things where if you actually took a moment to discern the situation, it doesn't make sense. But if you're doing it really, really fast and you got a bunch going on, like people saying that she mouthed, he did it, and I'm innocent, that did not happen. That's not what she was saying. I mean, Kevin Reddington has known this woman for 3 years. I think we can trust her lawyer on this.
Yeah. And what do you think his defense is? Like, I think, again, a lot of people are thinking he's going to come out with this like big gotcha smoking gun that it was Patrick in the end. He can't, I don't think he's literally legally allowed to do that.
No, he's not. And that's why Patrick testified on both sides as a friendly witness. And now he's out, right? He's going to be put through the ringer in civil litigation. I mean, it's pretty hardcore what we do. It takes years to finish a civil suit. Patrick, we're not done with Patrick. We don't know what kind of a husband or father Patrick was. He did not kill the children, though. Lindsay said that she did. And we have 3 years of people working in state psychiatric facilities, working with her, talking.
Yeah.
She's stands.
And that's the thing I think a lot of people don't realize. I saw a meme where it was like, the lawyer said she did it. The judge said she did it. Everybody says she did it. And then, even Lindsay says she did it. And then there's a lady with a tinfoil hat. It's like, no, it was Patrick. I think this is, again, it goes to a deeper question. Why does everybody not want the truth to be the truth here?
Because it sucks. Because the reality is that this didn't need to be a trial. The reality is this is lose-lose. The prosecution could have handed her a plea deal for civil commitment into a state hospital. We did not need to witness all of this. And it's really, really hard to look at an autopsy of a baby's eyeball and hear those doctors talk. The autopsy doctors, but they're cold and they're callous and they cut apart bodies for a living, and it is horrible to listen to. And we do not want to believe this happened. And we also, I think, strongly are terrified that it could happen to ourselves. I mean, any woman who's had a child has had intrusive thoughts that scared them at some point. And so we're also like, this case is digging deep into problems in society, especially in America and our healthcare system, but also how we felt when we had babies or our friends had babies and how our husbands showed up for us. So the rapid pace of these conspiracies, I mean, we had 4 days where people were like, oh, poor Patrick, he's a killer. And so I think like we're also talking about a case that's been going on for about 4 years. So can we just slow it down a bit?
I think it's going to get worse.
I think it is going to get worse, but I would assume that Reddington is going to try to kind of calm down the Patrick stuff. And he tried a couple days ago to do that, where he did bring up Patrick much more than he had any other day. But also, you haven't seen the defense's information. You haven't seen all the evidence the defense is going to put forward where Patrick was involved. Right? Like, you don't know that he got the job in New York, but was working remotely. You don't know. She's writing that she loves him. Is she under this coercive control spell? I really don't think so. The grandparents have all spoken and they're all involved, and everyone seemed like it was pretty good. Like, their family was under pressure because of his work and her work, and having 3 young children is really fucking hard. But to say anything beyond that, we literally don't have evidence substantiated by professionals who are aware of the entirety of this case.
And I think, again, the conversation goes back to, this is a one-sided thing because men will never be able to understand what postpartum depression is. I mean, I'm sure we can experience to a degree, but nothing like a woman would, because of the reality of what's going on in your body, the changes, the hormones, and all the things going. And so for me, this reason I didn't really touch this case until now is because, like, it was a big aha moment for me when I was driving today listening. I'm like, this is my aha moment from this, is that we got to start listening to women more on this scenario, because this is what could happen if we ignore this. And that's again, the silver lining in this case, if there is one, is that we are bringing lots of awareness to what this truly is.
Well, and incredible awareness around postpartum psychosis and psychiatric medications, right? Like, You don't have to have postpartum training to be a psychiatrist. It's not mandatory. I
Mhm.
don't think people really knew that. You shouldn't be going to your OBGYN or your pediatrician for psychiatric medication. And now we're like, whoa, but we can't even go to our psychiatrist either. Like,
Mhm.
we're learning a lot about the failures in the system and the failures in hospitalization. You can't be hospitalized unless you have a solid plan to do it. No, that is not how it really works. But the failures in the system are being highlighted by McLean Hospital and by Dr. Jennifer Tufts and Dr. Goodhart. I mean, you couldn't even understand what Dr. Goodhart was saying on the stand. And you want to go into her hospital and you don't even understand language because of your psychosis and you're trying to talk to her?
Yeah.
I
Here's a question. If Dr. Dobson's opinion, in your opinion, Dr. Dobson, what should her punishment be if she is found guilty? Or wait, guilty or not guilty, she's going to spend time in an institution, correct?
Yeah, and I think that's another thing people don't understand is that the prisons there don't have the capacity to handle a patient like Lindsay. So no matter what, if she's found criminally responsible in Massachusetts, so guilty, she's
Mm-hmm.
going to be shifted over to the state hospital she's in already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with probably an end date, right? Like there's going to be a sentencing. If she's found not guilty by reason of insanity or not criminally responsible, she didn't know what was happening at the time of the crime, she's going to stay in the state hospital with no end date. Okay, she killed 3 children. Her brain lost control so fast.
Mm-hmm.
She is at high risk of violence risk recidivism.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know that she does not have the potential to do that again? She will always be a high risk. No one is going to let her out because how fast and how horrific this was, we can't promise society that this won't happen again to her. So I don't think people understand this is genuinely lose lose,
Mm-hmm.
and she will be placed in the same fucking spot.
Mm-hmm. And if maybe this is just Canada, but at the opening, I talked with that guy that chopped the guy's head off and ate his head, and he was deemed not criminally responsible, and now he's on the street, like he's out. He walks around. He's on a good regime of medicine, so we're good to go. Technically, she could also be revisited year over year to see if she's being healthier. She's got the help she needed. She could be released.
Yes, she will be visited, but I don't think she will be released
Okay.
until see, the thing with like a violent guy is that we statistically know that we age out of violence and we age out
Mhm.
of psychopathy. Like
Mhm.
a psychopathic serial killer, he tires out. We have time frames, we have examples, right? Like we know how to estimate risk. How risky is somebody going to be on static factors and dynamic? Static, always there. They're never going to change. You're always going to be a guy.
Mhm.
Dynamic, things are going to change. If you're a pedo and you move over to a preschool, that's a higher risk. You're going to do it again, right? Because you've got it in front of you. So we're looking at so much when it comes to this. Lindsay's case is so different because how do you have comparative samples for what she did? How do you
Mhm. Mhm.
trust any
Yeah.
science to know she's not going to do it again?
The science
And
is so new on this. This is unheard of, which is why we're hearing a case like this has never happened.
exactly. And it's not
Okay.
in the DSM, it's not in the diagnostic manual. So for people to think this is a get out of jail free card, no, this is a fucking wake up call for our society and an opportunity to be educated.
People are not understanding what you do. Dr. Leslie, can you just give a quick synopsis of what because I think people are confused. They're like, what is this lady saying? Guys, trust Dr. Leslie. Tell me what you do for a living.
I'm a forensic and clinical psychologist who has worked in state hospital facilities and prisons and jails. I've done numerous competency evaluations and insanity evaluations. I testify in court to a person's mental state in both criminal court and civil court. I've worked with murderers, I've worked with cannibals, I've worked with a variety
Mhm.
of sexual offenders.
Yep.
That was my specialty for a long, long time. I also have published research on schizophrenia and psychosis. I have also worked with women who have gone through postpartum everything. And in addition, I'm a woman who had postpartum and has babies, and I'm a mom. So the I have specialties in all of the areas that we're focusing on in this case. And what I'm trying to tell people is that you have to include everything in order to understand anything.
I think what I'm hearing overall too, and guys, when we're gonna get to the conspiracies and all that stuff when Annie comes on, because it's kind of like I wanted Dr. Leslie's opinion on the psychology behind this. This is one of the most, I think, if not the most important part of this case. The side shit the sideshow is a different thing. This is the most important part of this case, because the question was, why is PPP not in the DSM-5? Now, will it be in the DSM-6?
I don't know. The DSM, if you look at the trajectory of the DSM, it was like a bunch of white guys sitting down like a long time ago, and it was like this thin. It had barely any diagnoses. And then a lot of things were added because of politics. A lot of diagnoses were added because they were hashing it out and they were arguing about what would be most able to medicate, what was going to be treatable, what would be more common. Because why are we going to fill the book with a bunch of things that are really rare and aren't going to happen, right? So I don't know if it will be added anytime soon. And Dr. Margaret Spinelli has been fighting for this for like 30 years. But it's not that common. We only have one book. We can't fill it with everything. So at this moment, really, it's a cluster of symptoms that we have to be aware of, and it dances between psychology and medicine.
Okay. All right. To close out, thank you for being on. I don't want to take too much time, but I do have a question. What do you think the defense is going to do? And is it going to take about the same amount of time, 2 weeks, to get through all of his witnesses? What do you think he's going to do?
Well, we still have witnesses that need to come for the prosecution. So they have 3 hired gun doctors who I know, and I'm very curious what they're going to say. One used to be the president of American Forensic Psychology, and he's actually tried like 3,000 cases. So I'm very curious about his experience. One, like they're all affiliated to the doctor who was with the Andrea Yates trial, who actually messed it up, and because of him, Andrea Yates unalived 5 children, got convicted, and then it was turned over to not guilty, and it was because the expert Park Dietz actually messed up. And so these guys that are coming in for the prosecution, they work for Park's firm. So it's interesting that there is this connection, but forensic psychology and psychiatry is a small world, so we all know each other. Reddington is going to I would assume he's going to need at least 1 solid week, but it depends how they cross-examine his experts, because Philip Resnick is 88 years old. So like that's also a difficult examination. We've got to slow it down. He's probably going to talk slow. And then we do have like 3 experienced experts. I don't know. He may bring in, we've got the TikTok girl, who I think that's incredible if she comes in.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
To speak about her experience at McLean. And I know Reddington has a handful of other experts that are going to come in, and then other witnesses as well that are going to come in. But, I would be hard pressed to think we're going to be done in August.
Okay. Do you think it's fair that she has to sit and listen through all the gory details of the deaths and all the stuff reading? Do you think that it's obviously a necessity because that's how court works. It's not like I don't think they're doing it to piss them off. There's a two-part question. Do you think like this prosecutor did this for her own fame and her own anger for some reason? And do you think it's fair that she has to go relive all this shit?
I don't think it's fair, but it's legal, so she has to. And this is the conspiracy stuff. You got to take your emotions out of it. Some shit just is like this because it's like this. She has to legally put her body there to be a part of this plea. We can't do anything about it. What was your other question? I forgot.
Do you think that the prosecutor, because I noticed that you said before the prosecutor could have just offered her a plea and put her in an institution she would have got she wanted anyway? Why do you think she's prosecuting this case? And she seems to be adamantly like, I'm taking this lady down.
I prefer to call them the Beau bitches. And if we refer to them as the Beau bitches, then I think they were just freaking excited to take this case because their boss is such a bro and he prosecutes everyone and he wants to be a judge. And the more cases that you try and the more that are public and the more that you get your face out there, the more likely you are to become a judge and get a bench. And this is where gets very political, because in other counties, other states, they would not have had this trial. Especially, I think people need to be very aware. Massachusetts is actually really difficult to for the prosecution to win. The burden of proof is on the prosecution, when in other states, the burden of proof is on the defense. If you
Okay.
don't understand that, Google it, throw it into AI, but it's a lot harder to win. And they knew all this evidence was there as well. Her being, having mental health symptoms after baby 1, after baby 2, and definitely after baby 3. So,
But I know. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
the only thing I can imagine is that this helps their careers. And even losing probably helps their careers a little.
Because they're getting national attention every day, and millions of people are tuning into this. And
They look like beasts and they're acting like beasts. And so
why
if
do they
you
wear?
kill
What's
someone,
the
you want a
bow thing?
beast.
Why are they wearing bows?
And a lot of people will argue against this back and forth, but in her opening statements, she said that the little girl that was killed liked to wear bows, and she made it a point in her opening statement, and then has subsequently worn a bow. Now, I
So
think it's
performative.
well, of course, court is Broadway. Court trial is theater. It's
Damn.
if you don't know everything leading up to it, like everyone was deposed, all of the investigative work, you can't rely based on what you're fucking seeing in this trial. Kevin
Okay.
Reddington is one of the best actors I've ever seen. He touches each of those witnesses on the shoulder before he fucking annihilates them. He finds a way to get up onto the stand to show them a paper so it's extra personal. He puts his head in front of the camera so that the camera doesn't see Lindsay crying, but the camera sees his hand on Lindsay's. He's amazing at what he's doing. He's lawyering, but that's what trial is.
Okay.
And that's why it's so exciting for people to watch, and they don't really understand all the background with it, which kills me.
So let's say again, the win. I know there's not a win for Lindsay, but the win is in your opinion. I think I'm hearing this correctly, that she gets off not guilty on plea of insanity, but she's hospitalized. So that's always going to happen. But that's a win for the conversation for PPP.
I definitely.
Okay.
I think no matter what, we've definitely changed how we look at it at this point. The world has woken up.
Thank you for being on. And I just got to say, I'm reading the comments, and it's just like, if you don't agree with the people that think Patrick did it, it's actually, I've never seen anything like it. Like, they hate you. It's really, really, really weird. Me too.
I can't see the comments.
Oh, it's just basically like, they're all just like, and it's not just you. It's anybody who says this. I was looking at Annie's comments today, and again, everybody who's, I hate to say it this way, but anybody on this case who is covering true crime, or a professional like you, a lawyer, or whatever, I've never seen a professional take the side of the conspiracy theorists. Not yet. And so there's some kind of crazy movement where it's like, it's a fight against the establishment or something, that if you don't believe it was Patrick, people get really upset. That's what I'm noticing here.
And that's really silly, because we have a trial going on and it's been heavily investigated, and we have very good lawyers. Even the Bo bitches are very good lawyers. I don't think they're that prepared for this case. But we have to ground ourselves in the reality of, you're watching a trial. We've had 3 years to look at this. Really smart people have been a part of this. I know that we're playing into a lot of the corruption in Massachusetts, but there isn't that much corruption here.
Also, I think there's something to be said on the side of the sleuthers, is that they do come up with some theories that are just like, holy shit, no one thought of. This is the thing about online sleuthing in the community of sleuthers and true crime. We have got to admit that sometimes they just come up with shit that's like, that's so compelling. There is stuff that I'm still having questions about. So.
And Reddington and his team and the prosecutors, they're all watching, right? They're watching everyone's theories. They are aware, right? They're often saying things that other people are saying that go viral. They're asking questions that we suggest, right? So like, they're aware. If anything actually was substantial, if any of these conspiracies were substantiated, they would be using them in the trial right now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, Dr. Leslie, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time. It's been incredible. I'm going to be texting you because I'm going to start watching this thing. I think I'm in this wormhole. I can't get out. I cannot get out of this thing.
I think it's great. I think it's great to watch and understand. And 9 a.m. Eastern time, Monday morning starts again.
Well, I appreciate your time on this, and I'll be following you throughout this whole thing and listening to what you have to say.
Okay.
What are your
If you hate
socials,
me,
Doctor? What are your socials?
sorry.
So people can follow you.
It doesn't sound like a lot of people want to, but
No, there's people.
Dr. Leslie Dobson on everything.
Everything.
And also, I have a lot of education, just, like 2 master's degrees, a doctorate, and 20 years of experience doing this. So just throwing that out there.
Saying. Just throwing it, just tossing it out. Okay. Thanks so much, Dr. Leslie.
Bye.
Bye. That was awesome. Okay. I know a lot of you are going to be mad about that, but that's right. I don't think anybody in the industry or understands this thinks that Patrick did it. It's only conspiracy theorists on TikTok. Okay? But I am willing to listen, and I'm hoping Annie can come on. I know that Annie's busy. I've been begging her all day. She said she might be able to. I've got the link out to her, and if she shows up, she shows up. If Annie does show up, that's where we're going to bring. I want all of the conspiracy theories. I want to debunk the ones that we can debunk, and then we're going to have, I've got someone taking notes right now, and we're going to have all the questions, all of the, like, what about this? What about this? What about the fingerprints? What about the DNA? What about the body? What about, what was the one? The fact that, can someone give me a timeline? And I know I could probably just look this up, but from the moment she, if you believe the story, she falls out the window and tries to kill herself. Okay. From that moment, how long until he comes home? Is it 30 minutes or is it less than 30 minutes? I don't hate anyone who disagrees with me, but I believe her husband has something to do with it. Now, again, you are one of hundreds of thousands to believe that, which is why this case is where it is right now. 30 minutes from the time. Okay. Thanks for having the doctor on the panel. Big Red is a beast. He's torn every witness up. He cares for Lindsay. Watch the trial, not TikTok for facts. Now, the trial is like, it's so time consuming, right? But apparently it's something to watch. And Reddington is apparently amazing. I don't know. I've messaged Annie. I'm going to see if she can come in. I'm hoping she does, if she's got some time tonight. She's 3 hours behind me, so she's got kids to feed. She's got mom duties. I hate taking up her time when she's not on duty at the studio. So if she can be here, I appreciate it. But if not, I told her, don't worry about it. I'm glad you had her on. She answered a lot of my questions. All I want is justice for those babies. The thing is, too, like, what I'm noticing about the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists in this thing is that you very rarely hear them talk about the babies, the kids at all. It's like they don't even exist in this conversation, right? My wife, I kind of give her the synopsis of it, and she feels there's not justice for these kids. My wife has had 2 children of her own. My wife did not go through postpartum depression, though I did ask her. So my wife is a person who roots for the underdog in every scenario. So in my opinion, she's rooting for justice, but at the same time, she feels like this postpartum psychosis thing, it's got to be dealt with. She, like, again, if that's Occam's razor in this case as well. If you listen to Annie's coverage on this, it's really important because there's no indication that this mother ever had any animosity towards her children, ever. Not one witness has ever come forward, including the husband, including friends, family, nannies, grandparents, teachers, that say she loved these children with all her heart. There was nothing. She wanted kids. She couldn't wait to have kids. She was a damn good mother. The house was beautiful. It was well put together. She made that house a home, loved the kids beyond reasonable doubt. And so that's why the Occam's razor here is that there had to be something up here that happened. I honestly believe that it was psychosis. I honestly believe that she is not criminally responsible for doing this, but also believe that when this happens, when you have done something like this as a human being, that it's over for you. It's luck of the draw, I guess. I don't know. You draw the short straw in life. You do not need to be with regular people for the rest of your life. That's what I believe. The only person who's saying Lindsay did this is Patrick. Well, there's 2 people, actually multiple people that say Lindsay did this, including Lindsay. Why do people always forget that part? Lindsay said Lindsay did it. But again, okay. I don't know how to do this. All right, she's still with her kids. So I don't think we get Annie on. Okay, so I think people speculating that Lindsay didn't do it is discounting her legitimate experience with PPD and possibly PPD. I think people don't want it to be that. That's what I think. It's really weird. Part of it looks like she premeditated to do it. So this is the argument that the prosecutor has to put forward. Did she do this premeditatively? And my question again, and I should have asked Dr. Leslie. Can premeditation and psychosis exist? I'm just going to text her right now. I'll ask her. Yes, Patrick said she said, but also she said. So Patrick said she said at the thing. Patrick said when she was on the ground, she said this, and there's a question about that, whether or not she said that or not. But also that happened, but also after that, Lindsay said too. So don't forget that. Yes, Patrick said, but Lindsay also said. So people think that Patrick drugged her, then convinced her she did it. Man, maybe initially that would have been the case, like right after it happened, but like there's been 3 years now. So I don't know. I can't believe that. I can't believe it. False confession. Dr. Leslie says, of course, but there was no intent or motive, and the command hallucination told her to do it. So premeditation and psychosis can coexist. I'm sorry, Josh, but when did she admit this? In the civil lawsuit for one. I'll see if I can find it for you. Where's my evidence? Again, I don't understand. Like if someone walked into a police station and said, I killed a person, okay, that's it. They have a confession. A confession is literally what is your evidence. She never asked about her kids? What do you mean by that? Guys, if Patrick did it, that would be defense by Lindsay's lawyer. So again, that's what I'm saying too. Again, even Lindsay's lawyer is like, Lindsay did it. We know she did it. But we're arguing that she's not criminally responsible. I don't understand what people don't get about this. She was not of sound mind when she confessed. That could go both ways too then, right? So here it is. Yes, Lindsay Clancy's medical malpractice civil complaint filed in Norfolk Superior Court in January 2026 includes a detailed description of the events. Here is the key passage quoted from the complaint in multiple news reports. Lindsay proceeded to strangle each of her children, uttering, "Go to God, baby." Following these acts, she undertook a severe suicide attempt, ingesting a substantial quantity of various medications, self-inflicting lacerations to her wrist and neck, and jumping from a second-floor window approximately 20 feet to the ground. 20 feet. Wow. The complaint also quotes her own description of her mental state at the time. I lost all control. My body started acting without any control on my part. I was just following commands, all action. The voice demanded action. This is in the civil lawsuit. Her words said that she did it. That is the evidence. That's it. And then this is like later. This isn't like seconds after this happened, minutes, hours. This is years. To this day, she says, I did it. What else do you need? Yeah, I know I shouldn't be drinking this stuff. Should not. I needed sugar today and get enough food into my body. Again, it sucks that you're in a domestic, and I hate this argument though, because just because you're, and I don't want to mean to diminish your relationship and your domestic violence, but just because you were doesn't mean that they were. There is no evidence that she was in a domestic violence situation with Patrick ever. On the contrary, the evidence shows that Patrick was a loving, doting father who took paternity leave to be at home and help. He was literally out helping by getting medicine or whatever it was he was looking for, the drink for his kid, the pediatric stuff, Pedialyte or whatever it was trying to pick up, and food for his family. There is no evidence that Patrick is an abusive father or abusive husband. But it sucks that you had to live with that. But you, just because you lived through it doesn't mean that you can. Like I don't get your argument. You can't say that. You need to watch all 13 days. You need to watch all 13 days of the trial, not just go based off the biased 3 days of research you did. Again, it's not. So what's unbiased? So are you telling me that people who are watching the trial, like Dr. Leslie, who's watched every second of that trial, she still has this? Annie's watched it. There's been lots of people who are watching the trial every day are saying, nah, no one is changing their mind. Just the conspiracy theorists are changing their mind. This, I will never understand this. How I don't think he got married 4 months later, though. But the vacation thing, that's really getting me. 18 days, and my researchers messaged me in the back end saying that it is true. So he didn't get married 4 months later. The children died on January 24th, 2023. Patrick Clancy married Dr. Rachel Danis April 2026. Where are you getting 4 months? See, this is how misinformation gets spread so fast, because you likely read that in a comment or saw it on a TikTok, and that's just a lie. And that's how this shit is spreading so fast. I was reading a comment on TikTok. Somebody had said something that was a blatant lie that even I knew was, and that person took that person's comment and said, oh, I didn't know that, and now is going to believe that. He married 4 months ago, not 4 months after. See, even I would be upset that if this man was remarried less than a year later. I would be very upset. This has been 3 years now. So at some point, time heals and you got to move on with your life. I get that. 3 years seems to be, I think, in my opinion, I would be okay with that. This vacation thing, though, who did he go on vacation with? Was it 8 days or 18 days after? I want to know who heard the confession. That's a good question. I like that question. Y'all are bashing him for dating after all this, but Shay from Tanner and Shay were married within a year. I have very much problem with Shane Tanner. Patrick Clancy went on a solo trip. According to his 2024 interview with The New Yorker, after the death of his children, he took an extended leave from work and later went on a solo trip to Central America and Europe, staying at youth hostels specifically to avoid running into vacationing families. More recently, attributed to him for a trail in Costa Rica, has circulated online. A hiking review dated. So he went, children died in January, funeral was early February, and he went end of February on this hiking thing. Let me know what you guys think about that. Is this just a man who is living in demons and has to get away? Because he didn't go with another woman. He didn't go to he went to go have solace in a hiking trip. That's what I'm seeing there. Am I wrong about that? Been watching the trial every day. Prosecution has not proven she wasn't under psychosis when she killed the kids. They dropped the ball. I think that she was under psychosis. I think a lot of people agree with that. He moved to New York 4 months later. That's where she was. Okay. Is that because that's where his job was? What could be some of the explanation to why he moved to New York? Are you saying he moved to New York for a woman? He moved to New York 4 months after the kids passed and moved on with his current wife about a year after the kids passed. No. Is there evidence to that, though? Because if you don't have it, where are you hearing that? I want to get to this. I want to get to this searches too. Patrick Clancy moved from Massachusetts to Manhattan, May 2023, which multiple reports citing public records describe as about 4 months after the deaths of his children. The children's funerals took place early February. Yeah, he moved May. Now, can I ask a question without getting hated on? Would you stay in Massachusetts if there's nothing there for you? Your kids are dead. Your wife is in prison. Your job is in New York. Why would you stay? Can I am I allowed to ask that question? A lot of you are saying it was for women, but where is the evidence of this? I know I want Annie too, but she's busy. I'm sorry. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate looking into this. I initially thought Patrick did it. You're making me open my mind. Thank you. So, this is what I'm glad. I'm open to having my mind change. If there's a smoking gun, you can show me Patrick did this, I will believe it. Okay? But Patrick's not on trial. Lindsay is. Lindsay confessed to it. Yeah. Who here would leave the town where your children were murdered in? Who would want to be there? Who would want a reminder every day? Josh, watch the trial. It was so obvious it was him. I mean, it's not, though. It isn't. I don't even need to watch the trial. Again, I can listen to the people who do watch the trial, and the professional. Dr. Leslie is a professional in this industry, watched the trial and has not changed her mind. If Dr. Leslie said, I just watched 3 weeks and now I completely changed my mind. If Annie comes to me and says, Josh, look at this compelling evidence, I would probably take a look at it. But like the people who have been covering this thing, who initially knew what they knew, no one's changing their mind. Just the tinfoil hats who are capitalizing on it are making up weird scenarios and shit and saying this is it. She wore a rubber band on her race. Like what the that's crazy. So yikes. It's Mama Mitchell says, other than Patrick, who heard her say she killed them? Again, I read it to you. I read it to you in the civil lawsuit. Are you saying right after it happened? Or what would be good enough? She said it to Patrick. The evidence points that way. She is suing civilly and is admitting to doing it. What do you need? What else do you need? It's almost like you need Lindsay to tell you that she didn't do it in order for you to believe, but she hasn't done that. You should watch the nightly recaps with Defense Diaries. Bob Motto has been in the courtroom all week and gives his takes. I like that. Maybe I'll definitely do that. Now, I've seen this scenario. Have y'all seen that he was in CVS in boots, and then when he went to get food in sneakers, and he was doing it all in one trip? Now, is the conspiracy there that he went home in between CVS and the restaurant and did this, and then went to the restaurant to create an alibi? Is that what it is? Now, I'm not making fun of people. I'm asking, is that what the conspiracy here is? My researcher is saying is that she called him on the doctor's phone and told him alone. Have you seen the CVS footage? It looks like it was taken from a Nokia brick phone. The thing about having old school footage and like really pixelated stuff is that it cannot be, unless it's so blatantly obviously a different shoe. Or is this someone on TikTok saying, hey, take a look at this, you be the judge? And it's like super weird. So this is what it says. The chain shoe detail is an online theory that is circulated widely during Lindsay Clancy's trial, but it has not been raised as evidence in court. Here's what it refers to. In January 2024, surveillance video shows Patrick Clancy at CVS where he went to pick up stool softener for one of the kids, appearing to wear brown boots and a half-zip jacket. A short time later at the restaurant where he picked up takeout, only a few minutes drive away, some people who have examined the footage claim he appears to be wearing tennis shoes and a full-zip jacket. When Patrick testified about returning home, he said he started taking my boots off as he came inside. This is how the theory is spread. Online commenters and true crime discussion groups have pointed to the apparent difference in footwear and jacket as potential inconsistency in his timeline. Some have speculated about why he might have changed the shoes between the two stops, ranging from practical reasons to more conspiratorial ones, including baseless claims involving a mistress. There has been people out there that talk about like this, his new wife who he met in New York had something to do with this. That's crazy. Let me see if I can take a look at it, though. Yeah, I mean, this is how it all started. The bigger picture here was always about the lack of healthcare and how everybody failed this woman when she was obviously going through it, right? So many people are blaming Patrick for leaving when she told him to go get the things. It's not like he left and said, I don't want to be around you. She asked him to leave. It was the premeditated part of the murders. Peter from LYK has been doing nightly recaps. Okay, good. I'm going to definitely take a look at that. There's another one here. This one I want to know too. This is a question I have and I want to get the answer to. His new wife does just look like it's crazy. So where is the footage? Does anybody have a link to the footage? Emily, can you get me a link to that footage? Okay, so let's talk about a drive that somehow takes 3 minutes took 15 minutes, but he did 2 stops. And if you got to wait for your food, I can understand why something like that would take you 15 minutes, right? I think some people think he ran from CVS back to his house, did everything, and then ran back. That's what they think. You keep asking the same question. Oh my God. Show us where she says she killed him. Every single person in her life killed her. She said it. She said it in the civil lawsuit. What are you saying, that she didn't say it? Is your argument that she didn't say it? Because you would be wrong. She has said it. Literally said it. I don't know what you're trying to argue here. Does she need to call you and tell you? Is that what you're... I don't understand. The theories people are coming out with are crazy. I've seen people accusing Patrick of being a pedo. It's sickening. If people aren't careful, you're gonna get yourself into some civil lawsuits with him too. We know she did it. She's on trial to determine whether she was psychotic. Yeah, this is it. This is what regular people are saying. No, from the house to CVS took 15 minutes. The drive to 3V took 11, then he drove back. So the house to CVS took 15. And I don't know, is there traffic there? I don't know what it took. Did Patrick ever explain why it took 15 minutes? There was a kid's plastic plates clean on top of the CVS bags. There is a photograph of this that the kids were eating on before he left. And what does that mean? That did he pick up the plates because he was going to feed the kids and at the same time put it down? What does that mean? What do the plates mean? She has signed an affidavit saying she did it. What else do you need? All right, here's how the searches are explained in the Lindsay Clancy trial. From forensic extraction of Clancy's phone presented in court around day 13 of testimony by State Police Sergeant Timothy Ciappini and highlighted by the defense on cross-examination. Searches related to suicide methods, including phrases along the lines of how to slit your throat to die, and related queries about carotid artery. Can you turn airbags off in a Kia Sorento, or very similar wording? These appeared in the days leading up to the January 24th killings, alongside other mental health searches as hallucinations, psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar, can you treat sociopath, and various medical side queries. How the defense explains it. Lindsay's attorney, Kevin Reddington, uses these searches to support the insanity, lack of criminal responsibility. They demonstrate that Lindsay was actively suicidal. The airbag search is framed as another potential suicide method. This fits with her documented history of suicide. Even Reddington is saying that she Googled these things, as far as this is aware. It's not him doing it, it's her doing it. And Reddington is using it to say, look, she was crazy. I will tell you, though, that looking up the carotid artery as a nurse is sus as F. Because nurses know where a carotid artery is. Yes, emails sent from the home while he was supposed to be at CVS. She's a nurse. She should know where a carotid artery is. So there's emails. How do you explain the emails? Okay, how do they explain? If I'm not mistaken, the emails were sent from his phone, and he said they were sent from my iPhone. Yes, I'm looking this one up right now, the CVS computer one. The email in question is a work email Patrick Clancy sent at 5:24 p.m. on January 24th. During Patrick's cross-examination by defense attorney Reddington, the defense showed him an exhibit of an email he sent to a work colleague staff that day. The timestamp was January 24th, 5:24 p.m. Reddington asked whether it was sent from Patrick's Microsoft Surface Pro. Patrick replied he was not sure. He testified it could have been sent from my iPhone. The contents of the email were not read aloud or discussed in detail open court. So they're questioning it because Lindsay texted about the Pedialyte around 5:15 p.m. Patrick said he left the house around that time or shortly after. Surveillance shows him entering CVS at 5:32. The email was sent at 5:24. So if I'm reading this correctly, he says she texted about the PDX around 5:15. He could have left right after he sent that email and still arrived at CVS at 5:32, right? Are you guys saying, like, how do we know what time he left the home, exactly the moment, and when did he get to CVS? Do we have that? Do we have that? He never explained why the drive that's supposed to take 3 minutes took him 15. He left the house at 5:15 but didn't show up. Now, according to what I'm reading here, he didn't leave the house at 5:15. He got the text message at 5:15 to go get the Pedialyte. Okay. Here's something we should look at. Emily, who's my researcher, is convinced that it's Patrick, by the way. So I want to just make sure we're going to show you guys this.
You watched footage earlier of yourself going into the CVS in Kingston at 5:32 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And you had your phone with you, correct, because you used it? And we also saw you on the 3V footage using your phone as well, correct?
Right.
So you were clearly out of the house at 5:24 p.m., correct?
Sorry, what time did you say I was at CVS?
So you walked in at 5:32 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And you left the house. As you were leaving the house, Lindsay sent you the text about Pedialyte, correct?
I don't know if I had left the house yet, but yeah.
But that was sent at 5:15 p.m., correct?
Right.
And how far away is the Kingston CVS?
3 minutes.
Okay. And so you leave the house, you get into your car, and you drive to CVS, correct?
Correct.
And so that should have taken 3 minutes, correct?
Yep.
So after the text that was sent at 5:15 p.m., that would have been sometime around 5:18 or 5:20 p.m. that you should have arrived at CVS, correct?
Right.
But you don't go in until 5:32 p.m., correct?
I don't know.
We could.
I don't know what time I pulled in the parking lot.
I'm not asking what time you pulled into the parking lot, but is it fair to say that the video that you were shown earlier shows you entering the store at 5:32 p.m.?
Yes.
So from the time you should have been at the parking lot of CVS around 5:20 p.m. until 5:32 p.m., could you have been in your car sending this email on your iPhone?
Yeah, I just don't know if I pulled into the parking lot at 5:20.
But sometime after the text was sent from Lindsay about Pedialyte, but before 5:32 p.m., you were in your car.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So all I take from that is that she's asking the wrong question. Could you have sent the email before you left? If it's a 3-minute drive, she sent you the thing. You write an email. It takes you, 10 seconds to write an email? It looks like it was a short email. 5:25, 5:26, 5:27, you leave. He could easily have made it to CVS in the same amount of time to get through those front doors. Am I wrong about that? So I just blew holes right in that argument in 2 seconds, and I'm not even a lawyer. Why didn't she ask him that, though? They sealed his phone records? Why? So Patrick said he did CPR on the kids. First responders arrived. He was sitting on the basement couch. Again, just looking at that right off the top, both could be true. Who's deleting comments? I'm not deleting comments. Okay, let me see what else there is. Enough with the friggin' Brian Koberger bullshit. Stop being stupid. If you're gonna say dumb shit like that, then like you have no credibility whatsoever. All right, here's another one I'm supposed to react to. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this one.
I said, what happened?
And what was her response?
She said, I tried to kill myself.
Did you ask her anything else?
I said, where are the kids?
And what was her response?
She said, they're in the basement.
And at that time, she didn't tell you that they needed help or they were in danger or they were injured, correct?
Correct.
Did anyone ever tell you not to leave your kids alone with Lindsay? In January of 2023, did Lindsay ever tell you that she wanted to harm your children? Did she ever tell you she was going to kill your children?
I said,
I guess the point of that one is to be like, I'm going to give you this. I'll give you this. This man has had his children taken from him, killed, and showed up and saw their dead bodies. And he shows almost zero emotion. So that right there to me is like, why? Like, and maybe it's just, this is his coping mechanism. I don't know. But talking about this stuff, I don't know as a father, I could ever even talk about this. I mean, I can't blame people for not wanting this to be the truth. I can understand why. But man, you're not helping anybody by making lies and making conspiracy theories up about this. Because again, I want you to understand this. Most of the people doing it are growing massive audiences from it. They're not doing it because they believe it. They're doing it because they jumped onto something and they found out that it can grow them an audience. Okay? You're being had. And those people don't even believe the shit that's coming out of their mouth. Watching Court Thursday, those searches were done from his laptop while she was at a doctor's appointment for 2 of the kids. Not saying he did, just pointing this out. Well, how does that explain? That's a good question. I think that's an interesting question. Here's what Patrick says. Around 5:15, Lindsay texted him to get the name of the stool softener. He prepared to leave, rocked the baby briefly, kissed Cora on the head, told the children, I'll be right back, then left the house. So he even says he doesn't write the email. He testified that he left around 5:15 or shortly after that text. He sends a work email at 5:24. He gets to CVS at 5:32, which is 3 minutes away, that's the 15-minute discrepancy. But he says it could have been anywhere after that. He stays in CVS for 5 minutes. He leaves and arrives at 3V at 5:54. Thank God the jury's not allowed to watch anything or news online. Some of y'all would taint the jury. You think they're not, though? Do you think they're really not? I know they're not allowed to, but do you think they're not? It's a good question, right? Would you guys leave? No, I wouldn't. The answer is I would not. If my wife was saying these things, but I think the trial has shown that he had no idea that this is like, he wasn't warned or told that she was doing these things. He says that in his testimony. So I don't know. Can you conspiracy theories who think that Patrick did it explain this to me? That, and I saw this in Annie's content, that she didn't even mention the word psychosis until she called him after talking to a psychologist or psychiatrist. That's something. In his trial testimony, Patrick stated that December 2022, during what he called her big spiral, Lindsay told him she was suicidal. She also disclosed intrusive thoughts, including thoughts of harming the children. He asked her if she had a plan to kill herself. She said no. He asked her if she felt she needed to be kept away from the kids. She said no. She never described a specific method or plan. He said the thoughts were very confusing because moments later she would be playing with the kids, making lunch, or putting them to bed. These disclosures led to multiple hospital visits, including a stay at McLean. And I think leading up to the murders, he said she was doing really good. It was a really good day too. That's where all this premeditation comes in. If a woman had left her kids with a husband knowing that she was having thoughts about harming the children, she would be held accountable. Agreed. No. If the man had killed his kids and she had left them there, she would be held accountable for his murder? I don't think so. So the Wi-Fi was messed up. Is that what we're saying? There's a big Wi-Fi disparity. What does my wife think about the case as a nurse? Has she ever since psychosis? She, as a nurse, she understood the whole thing. Like, no nurse needs to be Googling where a cardio or a carotid artery is. She understood all that stuff. She's not really into this case at all, but she's an underdog rooter, and she sees if this is psychosis, this postpartum stuff. She's kind of on the side of like, I hope this woman gets the help she needs, because that's it. That's not Gus. That's Junebug. Hey, Junebug. What you doing, baby? You got your new shirt on? You got your new shirt? Hey, baby, this is Gus. This is the Gus. I think he's numb and worn out from life, but we also sit through awful to sit through this. Yeah. If this was gender swapped, y'all would not be going so hard defending a man who killed his children. Neither would men. Men wouldn't be going hard to defend the man either. This is simply one-sided, and I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. I know that what that makes me sound like, but that's literally proven. If I went on TikTok right now and typed in Lindsay Clancy, it's almost all women talking about this because it mattered. And I think honestly that's the truth, but it also matters the most to women in this scenario. This is a problem that only really affects women. She was addicted to benzodiazepines. No, I'm not doing guitar true crime. But after this live, I might do another live because damn, Emily Kaiser just released her damn super long-winded video. So we'll see. He framed her so she could have a new life with a new woman. Again, he didn't get with this new woman till way longer. He didn't even marry her till 4 months ago. He didn't frame her. This is crazy, you guys. You know, the odds of that being able to be a thing, and to this day, she's holding on to that guilt and saying she did it, are astronomical. There's just no way. There's just no way. Even her lawyer, even she says this isn't what happened. It's like you guys don't want to hear her. You say believe all women. She's telling you what she did, and you're like, I don't believe her. How does that make any sense? She's telling you. Mental health isn't being used as an excuse to murder kids. It's an explanation as to why they were murdered. She would be locked up in one way. That's the truest thing. That's what Dr. Leslie said, that there's no winners here. She's going to be institutionalized no matter what. In the same institution, whether or not she's guilty, she's going to end up in the same place. She's paralyzed, I think, from the chest down, if I'm not mistaken. So she's not going to be a danger to anybody anyway. But like, her life is over at this point. And if she lived in Canada, she would be getting made, and she probably would unalive herself, because in Canada, they offer it to you if you have debt. I'm not even kidding. The craziness here. She would probably choose that path. Her life is over for all intents and purposes. I can't even go on TikTok right now because these people are insane. Lindsay was mentally ill and killed her kids. Justice for Cora Dawson and Callan. I thought it was chest down. Okay, I'm wrong. Yeah, this is a good point, though, if you think about this. I didn't think too much about the conspiracy theories until I saw what PC's new wife looks like, and things just got weird. Isn't it crazy, though? Someone did a side-by-side comparison of their face. It's so dystopian. No, Lindsay Clancy is paralyzed from the waist down, paraplegia, not from the chest down. She sustained severe thoracic spine injury. Holy jeez. Where's the picture? Well, actually, no, they don't look that much alike, actually. A little bit. Nah, they don't look that much alike. People just want it to be what it is. It's not true. She doesn't look anything like her, in my opinion. I think it's sad, though, that she asked for help, called the suicide hotline, but because she didn't have a plan on how she was going to do it, no one helped her. That's true. Again, there's no argument from my side about people failing this woman. Not at all. I do believe that she is going. I do believe that she is not going to be held criminally responsible, or I hope so, because again, we're going back to Occam's razor, and the fact that everybody, including Patrick, says that she loved these kids with all her heart. How could someone like that kill her kids? The only explanation there is that she went fucking crazy. I feel like people who've never had feelings of actual clinical depression, anxiety, or paranoia can't even imagine what it feels like than to have gone through the medical treatment she had. There you go. Kevin knows she's guilty. System failed her. But a lot of people, like, this man's life could be completely ruined by what's going on the internet right now. I'm not sure what I believe is the full truth, but both sides have things that are sus. The most important thing is for these two children, whatever that looks like. Yeah. Anyway, that's that's what I've taken away from this. And I think that maybe we hopefully have changed some people's minds or had some, because there are people on the other side that, like, if I asked you, what's it going to take you to change your mind? You're going to say nothing. Nothing will change your mind on this. That's what you'll say. But my mind can be changed. If there's evidence that comes out smoke and gun that he did this, my mind can be changed. But we have all the evidence that we need, considering she told us what she did. And I cannot, like, again, when you want to do this world, and it's a lot of the feminists out there who are like, oh, there's no way this, and I understand why you don't want this to be true. But when you say believe all women, you really need to believe all women, because the woman here is telling you what she did, and you don't want to believe her for some reason. You got to believe Lindsay. Lindsay's telling you what she did, but she's also telling you that there was something wrong in my brain, and I believe that. I believe there was something wrong in her brain, and she was outside of her mind at the time that she did this, because, again, everybody says that she loved her children. There was never any doubt beyond anything that this is what happened. So that's the only thing that makes any sense in this case. So anyway, stay safe out there, even with those crazy conspiracy theorists, okay? Because they're a little bit weird sometimes. But, like, I'm going to keep a track of this case for sure now going forward, especially with the defense and stuff, and I want to see what happens. This is a very, very, very interesting case, unlike anything we've ever seen before. But I think the common sense wins out every time here, and I hope that those people will apologize to Patrick when this thing all gets figured out. And I don't think they will. I think they'll just memory hole it and they'll forget about it. So anyway, thank you for being here, everybody. I'm gonna do a live tomorrow on the Emily Kaiser situation, if that works for you guys. Okay. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate you. Thanks for the honest conversation. I know some people aren't going to like my take, and that is what it is. I know I'm not always right, and maybe I'm not right about this, but this is very, very, very not black and white. That's for sure. And I rarely think in gray areas. I do. I'm a black and white type of guy, and this one is not black and white. So thanks for being here. Thanks, Dr. Leslie. I appreciate you guys. I will see you tomorrow.